Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is YOMA Daf Chavav. We are right at the Mishnah, which is 3 lines from the top of the Amid. Hapayis HaShlishi. We previously discussed the first two lotteries. The first payis involved the Trumas Hadeshen, to determine who's going to be Zoicha to do that. The second payis involved the Korban HaTamid that we learned yesterday, who's going to do the Shechita, the Zrika, etc., who's going to bring the Eivarim of the Korban Tamid to the Kevesh. And we had a list of 13 Kohanim who are actually going to be part of that winning series. 13 Kohanim are going to be involved in that payis. Now we have the third payis, Hapayis HaShlishi. They would gather again, point their fingers, and the Memuna would take a finger count to determine who's going to be Zoicha to bring the K'teres. Hapayis HaShlishi Chadashim La K'teres. Only new Kohanim who have never in their lives had the opportunity to bring the K'teres, they may join the payis and perhaps be the lucky ones to bring the K'teres. Chadashim La K'teres. Boyu v'fisu, come along and be part of the payis. The Gemara will give us the reason why they only allowed new Kohanim to join. It was a popular avodah, very much sought after. It brought wealth, and therefore only new Kohanim are entitled. V'ravi, finally the fourth payis involved anybody. Everybody and anybody. Chadashim, Emishanim, new and old Kohanim, ones that were Zoicha to do it in the past, ones that weren't. Mi mala Eivarim min ha-kevesh l'mizbeach, to determine who's going to bring up the Eivarim from the kevesh. So first the Kohanim would place the Eivarim of the Tamid on the ramp, go ahead and do some other things, say Krishma, bring the K'teres, and then they would complete the process, bring it onto the Mizbeach, and that was a new privilege. A new payis was conducted to determine who's going to be Zoicha to bring the Eivarim from the Kevesh and be makriv on the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, we learned in the Brayso, they never allowed anybody to have a second chance at the K'teres. My time of why? Because it generates wealth. My time, why do you say that? Where is the source for this segula? This is in Devarim, Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking about the Shevet Levi. They're going to bring K'teres. Uksiv Basrei, and the pasuk continues afterwards with the words Bareich Hashem Chelo Yipoel Yodav Tirtza. Hashem apply a bracha to his efforts and give him a bracha, parnasa, wealth. So K'teres generates parnasa and wealth. Ihachi Oila Nami. If that's the case, then Oila as well should have that capacity. Haksiv v'chalal al mizbechecha, because the same pasuk says Yosimu K'teres ba'pecha and concludes with the words v'chalil al mizbechecha, which is referring to an Oila which is completely burnt in the mizbech. Then we have Baruch Hashem Chelu. So why shouldn't we say that Ashirus applies to Oila as well as K'teres? Amalei, Abai responded, Hashchicha, because Oila is a commonly brought carbon. And as Rashi explains, it's not mistaver that it's going to generate Ashirus, because otherwise everybody's going to be wealthy. Everybody could just come along and bring an Oila. Ashirus is not meant for everybody. There needs to be many classes of people in the world, Ashirim and Anim and in between. So the svar is that it doesn't apply to Oila of V'halei Shchicha as opposed to K'teres, which is not something common. It's only brought twice a day and you can't donate your own K'teres. So it's logical to assume that the bracha of Ashirus applies specifically to K'teres. So this is the reason why they only allowed the Chadashim, only Kohanim who never were Zoicha to do the K'teres, to apply for the privilege. It was brought down halacha, the name of the Maharil, that being a sandik at a bris is also a school of Ashirus. In fact, one of the Paiskim on the side, I think it's a Shach, he says that's why the minig is not to, a father wouldn't give sandik to two people. a double son to the same person. One son and then a second son again to the same person, because it has this quality of ashirus, in line with our Gemara, that only the Chadoshim were entitled to the to be part of the Ketores pious. Amurava. Let's proceed with another interesting fact, which is also connected to the pasuk we just mentioned of Moshe Rabbeinu speaking about the Shevet Levi. You won't find a young Talmud Chacham who has the ability to be a Moirei Hara, to be a Pesach. Elo de'asi mishevet Levi, unless he's from Shevet Levi, oy mishevet Yisachar. So either he comes from Levi or Yisachar, that will endow him with the ability to render halachic decisions. Why? Levi d'chsiv yoru mishpetech Yaakov. That's the beginning of that pasuk we mentioned. So the Shevet Levi are the Yoru Mishpatech Yaakov. They're going to be the Meirei Hira for Klal Yisrael. And what about Yisachar? The Chsiv Ubnei Yisachar Yoidei Bin Leitim Ladas Mayas Yisrael. The children of Yisachar, the descendants of Yisachar, will have that knowledge as well. Yoidei Bin Leitim Parasanhedrin, and be the instructors of Klal Yisrael. So generally, a Pesach comes either from Shevet Levi or Shevet Yisachar. Ve'ema Yehuda Nami. What about Yehuda as well? The Chsiv Yehuda Mochaykiki. Yehuda is going to be the my rulers, my leaders of Klal Yisrael. Says more rulers yet. They're going to implement rules, but to establish rules, to be a Pesach, that requires special Shmai Asukah Shmaita to conclude the learning, the Gemara, the halachas, aliba de hilchasa, in accordance with the proper halacha, to have the proper clarity of a psak halacha, that requires additional talent and ability. Ka'amina, that's what I'm speaking about. And that was unique to Shevet Levi or Shevet Yisachar. And in fact, if you look back in history, you find a disproportionate amount of halachic authorities who were from Shevet Levi. We have the Chavetz Chaim, most recent generation. We have the Taz, was a Levi. We have the Shach, was a Kohen, etc., etc. Now the Ben Yehuda asks, well, we do find many other poskim as well. So he says, in fact, the roiv, the disproportionate amount of poskim are from Shevet Levi Yisachar, but of course, certainly, there are many others from other Shvatim as well. Now, the Kasha asked, what about David HaMelech? The Gemara Sanhedrin describes him as being one who had the ability to be asuki shmat aliba dehilchas, to conclude a sugya in accordance with the proper halacha. It requires special salat shmaya v'Hashem imay. The Gemara says. Now David was not from Shevet Levi or Shevet Yisachar. He came from Shevet Binyamin, from Shevet Yehuda. So how does that work? So the Tesis Shonim here on the Amid here says David Nami Milevikas. He came from Levi. How is that? So the Mefarish on the side, the being Tesis Rush, that he came from Miriam. More Saited works it out how he came from Miriam. So Miriam was his great grandmother, and she was from Shevet Levi. So it's a chiddush in Tesis Shonim, even if it's not his father. Generally, yichus is determined by the father's side. When it comes to this concept of being haymoira hayra, as long as somewhere up the line you have even a mother who hails from Shevet Levi, you're okay. Continues the Gemara. Omer v'yichnan ein mafaysin al tamid shel ben arbayim. We discussed the tamid shel shachar, where they had a pious, where there was zeicha to do the shchita, the zrika, etc. It's only on tamid shel shachar. You don't do another pious for the sake of the afternoon tamid. Who's going to do it? Ella. Kohen shezacha by b'shachris, zeicha by arbas. Same kohen who's entitled to do the shchita in the morning will do the same thing in the afternoon. So it's a package deal. You zeicha and tamid shel shachar, you're automatically zeicha and tamid shel ben arbayim. You don't need to make another lottery. Meisvei, mokashma brayse. Kashem shem faisin shachris, kach mafaisin ben arbayim. Just as a pious was conducted in the morning, likewise in the afternoon. Ketane b'kteris. That brisa is speaking specifically about Ketores because it was a very sought after avodah, as we just mentioned. It's a ma'ashir. So certainly there was no pies conducted for the afternoon Ketores. But when it comes to the Korban Tamid, it was a package deal. Whoever was Zoich in the morning does the same in the afternoon. Vatanya, we learned another brisa. Kashem shemafaisen loy shachris, kach mafaisen loy arvis. Just as a pious was applied for loy is the Korban Tamid, the lashon zachar. Likewise, there was a pious for the Tamid in the afternoon as well. That's not Ketores, that's a Tamid. Aim a law. Switch it to law. Lashon Nekeva referring to the Ketores. Yeah, Ketores had a double pious, morning and afternoon, but not the Tamid. V'atanya, we learned another brisa. Kashem shem faisen loy shachris, kach mefaisen loy arvis. Ukashem shem faisen lo shachris, kach mefaisen lo arvis. Here the brisa is covering both Tamid and Ketores. Just as you did a pious loy in the morning, which is the Tamid, you do another one loy in the afternoon. So Tamid had a double pious. And just as you did a pious lo for Ketores in the morning, same thing in the afternoon. It's pretty clear from the brisa that both Tamid and Ketores had a double pious. This is the kasha on Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. You know what we're speaking about? Not on your typical weekday. Hacha b'Shabbos askina. It's on Shabbos. Hoyle mishmaros mischadres. On Shabbos there was a change of the guard. So the old mishmar would leave. They would first do the Tamat Shachar. They take care of part of the Karbanis. Then they rotated over to the next mishmar, who took care of the second Tamid, Sheben Arbayim. Here, of course, you have to redo the pious. You have to do one for the Tamat Shachar, for the leaving mishmar, and then another pious for the incoming mishmar, who will tend to the Tamat Sheben Arbayim. But in your typical weekday, only one pious was sufficient for morning and afternoon. Says the Gemara, now, the way you figure initially that they would do another pious in the afternoon, it will turn out that we have too many lotteries. We know we meant to only have 4, as we learned in the first Mishnah. Navchav Beis, Arba Piases Hayusham. There were 4 Piases. In fact, Tosis over Navchav Beis and Divrei Masal Tashma says, interesting lashon. He said they had to have 4 Piases, and he says Kishum Ta'am Yesh. Must be some reason, some unknown reason. She'en Livchais Midal Piases, which requires us to stick to 4, no less. Says the Gemara, if you're going to add another one in the afternoon, then it's 4 and even more than 4, which doesn't really fit with the Mishnah's description. Says the Gemara, Maisi Kula Mitzafra Asu. Really, they all come together in the morning to engage in pious, and they'll just make another finger count for the afternoon. The Gemara never meant that they have to get together again in the afternoon. Of course, the pious is conducted in the morning. The Zache Bei Shachar Zachi, the one who's Zoicha to do the Tamid Shachar is Zoicha. The Zache Be'arva Zachi, the one that is Zoicha to do the afternoon Tamid, he's Zoicha in that privilege. So the Gemara's Havamina was not that they come together in the morning once and then again in the afternoon for another finger count. Rather, once they're together already in the morning, they just apply another finger count for the sake of Tamid Sheben Arbayim. That was the Havamina. The Maskana is no. On your typical day, there's no need to do that. You do 1 finger count, 1 pious for the Tamid Shel Shachar, and once you're Zeicha in Tamid Shel Shachar, you automatically have the schus to continue on and do the same in the afternoon, except for Shabbos, when it was a new group of Kohanim, which of course necessitated a new pious. So in conclusion, Rabbi Yehuda says, there's no need to make a new pious. And the Gemara says, on Shabbos, there of course we'll make a new pious for the afternoon. Haravi, the 4th pious, was for anybody. Chadoshim imishanim, new or old Kohanim, meaning even Kohanim who already had the privilege of doing this avodah can join the pious and perhaps win this privilege as well. What was the 4th pious for? To determine who's going to be ma'ala the ivarim, from where? From the kevesh onto the mizbeach. So initially the kohen would take the aver of the carbon tamid, put it on the kevish, somewhere in the middle, leave for a while, and then, according to our Mishnah, it's going to be a new kohen arriving to bring the ivarim onto the mizbeach, onto the actual makim hakrova, and be makriv those ivarim. It says the Gemara Masnisan, our Mishnah, which tells us that a new kohen is zeiche to do that second phase. The loik Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov is not following his sheet. It's not. Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov Eimer. Hamala ivarim lakevish. The same kohen who brings the ivarim to the kevish, who mala oisel mizbeach. He himself will also bring it up to the mizbeach. So although he puts it down for a while, but he comes back and concludes the avodah of halacha. It's not given to another kohen. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov, there was no pious needed for this phase because there was no such phase. It was the same kohen that completed the process. But my kamiflagi, what's the basis? What's the understanding of this machlekes between the Tanakama, our Mishnah, that there's going to be a new kohen arriving to take care of that second phase, to bring from the kevish to the mizbeach, whereas Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov maintains, no, it's going to be the same kohen all throughout. Mar Sava B'Roivam Hadras Melech. Our Tana holds, the more the merrier, the more involved, the more people that are fussing over the avodah Hadras Melech, that adds covered and prominence to the Melech. So do it in two phases, in two stages. One kohen will bring it to the mizbeach, to the kevish, and then have another pious to determine which kohen is going to be zeiche. So do the second part of that delivery process, which actually is not really delivery. It's a new type of avodah. It's hakrava. V'roiv hamados melech. Umar sava, whereas Rabbi Lezer holds, mokim shchina, since we're dealing with a place where the shchina is resting, by Hamikdash, lava irach ara, it's inappropriate to do it in this manner. It appears like the first kohen is trying to unburden himself from his load. Puts it on the kevish, walks away, and has somebody else take over. Rather, it says Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov, have the same kohen come back and complete the halacha process. Apparently, Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov looks at it as a masa halacha. Therefore, complete it until the end. Don't stop in the middle, which would give the impression like you're trying to unburden yourself. Too difficult for you. Whereas Tanakama looks at it differently. Kohen A completed his task. He delivered to the kevish, which is pretty much the mizbeach already. Then we start a new phase, hakrava. That can be done by a different kohen. Nothing wrong with that. Quite the contrary. B'roiv am hadras melech. The more people involved in that kravas atamid, the better. Perhaps let's see Rashi inside. This is 14 lines from the bottom of the Amid. Hu mal oisel gavim mizbeach. This is Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov speaking. There's no need to make a new pious. It's going to be the same carbon, bringing it to the mizbeach as well. Oisei ish shezachavay. The same kohen who brought it to the kevish. After a while, come back and bring it on to the mizbeach. Now, initially, when they brought on the kevish, they would put it in the lower half of the kevish. So he approaches the ram, puts it right in the middle, so that when it comes back, it doesn't have to carry it up the entire kevish. It's already sitting halfway up. Then when he comes back, he walks up the kevish empty-handed, doesn't have to lug the aver, it's already sitting about halfway up. When he arrives to the Ivarim, Noitlan takes them and proceeds to the Mizbeach. They would place it on the Mizrach side of the kevish, halfway down. So according to Rabbi Yehuda Yaakov, this is preferred. Why? Lava irach ara, says Rashi, lemischazi kimad etriach lemilsa. You don't want to give the impression as though it's difficult for you. You're trying to unload the heavy aver and leave it on the kevish for the other kind to pick up. No. We want you to follow through all the way to the end. Whereas Tanakama maintains just the opposite. Get another kohen involved to do the next phase, which is really post-delivery. It's a different type of avodah. It's hakrava. V'roiv amadras melech. Amarava. We learned that there were 4 lotteries, 4 piases. If that's the case, we want to make an interesting calculation. Loi Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov islay Rabbi Yehuda. Yesterday we learned that according to Rabbi Yehuda, the kohen who shoveled the coals, the kohen who was zeicha the machta, did not need to be zeicha through a pious. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda tells us that the kohen who was zeicha in the ketores would just turn to the fellow standing next to him and invite him to join him in the process, and there was no need to make a new lottery for the machta, because the kohen next to him would just bring along the machta to help him out. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Now, the Blezer and Yaakov, who we just concluded, hold that there was no fourth pious. Because what was the fourth pious for? Who's going to bring the Eiver from the Kevesh to the Mizbeach? Well, according to him, it was the same kohen that brought it to the Kevesh. There was no fourth pious for that purpose. Apparently, in order to get to the number 4 in total, 4 piyasses, he cannot hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Rather, Rabbi Lezer obviously holds that the fellow doing the machta needed to be zeicha through a pious. That's the fourth pious. Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov is Rabbi Yehuda. He cannot hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Rather, he holds that the machta was granted through a pious. And conversely, Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the machta did not require a pious. That brings them down to 3 piyasses. Cannot hold like Lezer and Yaakov. We hold that there was no pious for Ivarim from the Kevesh to the Mizbeach. Apparently, Rabbi Yehuda there was a pious for the Kevesh to the Mizbeach. So that gives them 4 piyasses. They came because otherwise, Batzru, Lu piyasses, you're going to be missing from the list of piyasses. So it's either or. V'meshkachas Tana. Now, if you should happen to find a Tana, the Tani Chamish, who actually hold that there were 5 lotteries, how's that going to happen? That Tana evidently is the like Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. Will not follow Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. Rather, that Tana will hold there was a new kohen who was granted the privilege of taking from the Kevesh to the Mizbeach, that a pious was needed for that. Or like Rabbi Yehuda. Nor does he hold like Rabbi Yehuda that there was no pious for the machta. No, he holds there was a pious for the machta. So we have 5 piyasses in total. So in summary, we learned about the piyasses that took place in the morning. According to Rabbi Yehuda, those 4 piyasses. There was a pious to determine bringing from the Kevesh to the Mizbeach. But for the machta, there was no pious. According to Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov, there were also 4 piyasses, but for a different reason. There was no pious to determine who's going to transport from the Kevesh to the Mizbeach, because it was the same kohen who brought it to the Kevesh, who would also bring it to the Mizbeach. But there was evidently a pious to determine who's going to shovel the coals for the Ketores. So that gives you the number 4. And if you'll find another Tano who speaks about 5 piyasses, evidently he holds there was a pious for both things, to determine who's going to carry the Ivarim from the Kevesh to the Mizbeach, and who's going to shovel the coals for the sake of the Ketores. Continues the Mishnah, Tamid Karev B'Tisha. We learned yesterday that they had a pious in the morning to determine who's going to be entitled to take part in the Karban Tamid. And actually the Mishnah told us 13 Kayhanim Azoich, who's going to do the Shchita, Zrika, clean out the Mizbeach HaPnimi, clean out the Menorah, and then we follow with 9 more Kayhanim, who will actually be engaged in the Ivarim and the Nesachim, etc., which are related to the Tamid, Shal Shachar, the Chavitin, etc., 9 in total. 9 plus the 4, Shechet, the Zurek, the one that cleans out the Mizbeach and the Menorah, gives us a total of 13. Tamid Karev B'Tisha. Now we're going to give us a list of numbers. How many Kohanim are going to be tending to the Karban Tamid? And Rashi says, we're speaking Mishas Hilochas Ivarim Ve'elach. Meaning already after the Zrika, once you already have Ivarim, you bring it to Mizbeach. From that point onward, how many Kohanim will tend to the Tamid? Typically, it was 9 Kohanim. So we're not counting in the first 4. The Shechet, the Zurek, the Medashin, Mizbeach HaPnimi, Medashin, and Seminary. We're not counting those. So it's 9, aside from those 4, for a total of 13. That's your typical procedure. But sometimes you have to add Kohanim. We have a range. Anywhere from 9 to 12. Tamid Karev B'Tisha. It can be brought by 9 Kohanim. Ba'asara, sometimes 10 Kohanim are involved. Ba'achad Asar, Shnei Masar. 9, 10, 11, or 12. How's that? We'll see in a minute. Lo Pachas Lo Yoser. Not less than 9, not more than 12. So at a minimum, it was 9 Kohanim. At most 12. Ketzad, how does this work? Atzmai b'test, the actual korban required 9 kohanim. That was your typical korban. B'chag, if it was on Sukkot, where they did nisuch hamayim, they poured water on the mizbeach, you needed another one for that. B'yad echad, in the hands of one kohen, was the tzleiches shamayim, the container of water. Harakan asara gives us a total of 10 kohanim. Beina arbayim, b'chad asar, and your typical afternoon, Tamash ben arbayim, involves 11 kohanim. How? Hu atzmai b'tisha, the actual korban required 9. U'shnayim b'yadim, and 2 kohanim, who have in their hands Shnei Gezira Eitzim, 2 blocks of wood. They needed to add 2 blocks of wood to the fire arrangement. You needed 1 kohen per block. So add those 2 kohanim to the 9, total of 11. B'Shabbos, on your typical Shabbos morning, once again we have 11. B'Chadosa, Hu Atzmai B'Tisha, the Talmud had 9. U'Shnai B'Yadman, 2 kohanim in their hands are holding the Shnei B'Zicha Levayna Shlechma Panim, the 2 spoons of the Levayna, which were brought with the Lechem HaPanim, and on Shabbos, of course, they switched the supply of Lechem HaPanim, and they removed the old B'Zicha Levayna, and they will maktir that fragrance on the Mizbeach. That involved 2 kohanim. So it's 9 plus 2 for 11. How do we get to 12? Or B'Shabbos Shebetoich HaChag. What if we have Shabbos, which falls out on Sukkot? So that morning, Tamid required 12 kohanim. Why? You have your standard 9, plus 2 for the B'Zicha Levayna Shlechma Panim, plus another one. B'yad echad tzleicha shalmayim. One fellow holding the water container, for a total of 12. Says Rashi, 3 lines from the top. Tamid Karev, the Tamid was tended to by how many kohanim? 9 up to 12. Mishas halochas evarim ve'el chachashim. We're listing the kohanim who were involved from the point of halochas evarim onward, meaning this is in addition to the original 4. The Sheikh, the Zorik, the Medashim, Mizbeach HaPnimi, and Medashim Menorah. So it's really a total of 13, as we mentioned yesterday in the Mishnah. Atzmai, the typical korban tamid on your typical day, B'chol Yom B'Tish. How do we get to 9? Chamishi Levarim, 5 carry the Ivarim, Ve'echad the Kurvayim, 1 the innards, Ve'echad the Soilis, part of the Minchas Soilis, Minchas Nesachim, Ve'echad the Chavitim, 1 carry the Mincha of the Kohen Gadol. Incidentally, some Mefarshim point out that although the Chavitin was financed by the Kohen Gadol, was his obligation, but the actual Akrava could have been done by any Kohen. It's pretty clear from our Mishnah that the Chavitin were brought by your standard, your plain Kohen Hedyot. Ve'echad Liyayin, and 1 Kohen carrying the wine for the Nusach. Now Rashi makes another point. V'okar B'lezer ben Yaakov. Apparently we're following B'lezer ben Yaakov's shita, the les lechad lahalois mekevesh l'mizbeach, who holds there was no Kohen who was in charge of bringing the Ivarim from the kevesh to the Mizbeach. Why? Because if we're not following Rabbi Lezer, and we hold there was another Kohen for that, then you end up with more than 9. You end up with 10 Kohanim involved in the Tamid. You need another one to take the Ivarim from the kevesh to the Mizbeach. Apparently, says Rashi, we're following Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov, that there was no such Kohen, because the original Kohen who brought it to the kevesh would carry it onto the Mizbeach. Tosfos disagrees. He says, we don't find any mention of this sort in the Gemara that our Mishnah is following Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov, which seems to be a bit strange since the previous Mishnah was in disagreement with Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov. We had a special pious to allocate this schus of bringing from the kevesh to the Mizbeach. The Gemara would have made mention of this disparity between one Mishnah and the other. Rather, says Tosfos, interesting chap, he says, our Mishnah can be following even Shittas Rabbanon. Yeah, a Kohen was needed to go transport the Ivarim from the kevesh to the Mizbeach. But you know why we don't add them to the list? Why is it that we remain with 9? We don't add in the 10th one? Because the Mishnah says, Lo pachas lo yoser. 9 is absolute. You couldn't get less than 9. You can't get less than 9 or more than 12. Now, he says that, as Tosfos says, that the Kohen who was bringing the Ivarim from the kevesh to the Mizbeach could have been doing another job as well. He could have been the one that's doing the Shechita the Zrika. We said in the Mishnah, Chadashim Megam Yisham. Even though it was already Zoicha, any of these avodas can come back and do it again. Certainly, if he only did the Zrika, the Shechita, wasn't involved in Malei Varm, there was no restrictions. Anybody can come join. So perhaps, says Tosfos, this Kohen who was Zoicha to bring the Ivarim onto the Mizbeach was already involved in the Tamid regardless. It could be. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. So the Mishnah cannot say you need a minimum of 10. It's not always so. A minimum of 9 you need. But the Mala, Ivar, Mekevesh, Lamizbeach could have been a double. And therefore, the Mishnah doesn't make mention of it. Okay, it's an interesting discussion between Rashi and Tosfos. Continues Rashi. B'chag, this is on Sukkos, which is typically referred to as chag in the Lashon Mishnah and Gemara. B'chag shetzorach shnei nesachen. Over there we have to have a double pouring. Echad shel yain v'echad shel mayim. B'yad kohen echad tzloichas echad shel mayim. He was holding a container of water. Ben arbaim, your typical tamish ben arbaim shebachol yom, we have 2 more kohanim. Shnayim b'yad mishnei gezira eitzim. 2 blocks of wood. Lohoisev al atzem al rochel harboisem. We're going to learn the Gemara. We have a source for this halacha where 2 kohanim are required to bring this additional wood to add to the fire arrangement, the wood arrangement on the mizbeach. Sheben arbaim tzorach hatamid shnei gzirim b'shnei kohanim. You need 2 kohanim, each one with a block of wood in his hands. Aval b'shachris lo yiboi sidur shnei gzirim. But in the morning, you don't need to have 2 kohanim holding the 2 gzirim. El b'kohen echad. You need 2 gzirim to be added in the morning, but only 1 kohen would take care of it. Because we have a lashon yachid in the pasuk, referring to 1 kohen only. So this special addition of 2 kohanim only apply in the afternoon. Asks the Tosfos Yeshanim, fine, you need 1 kohen in the morning to do the extra 2 blocks of wood. So why was he not mentioned anywhere? We discussed all the kohanim that were involved in the Talmud. We never made mention of anybody bringing extra wood. So he says, because if you remember, back on that Chaf, Beis Amalal, beginning of the Perek, the Chachamim established takana that whoever zeichen to Misad Deshen gets a package deal. He gets the Siddur Marocha and the Shnei Gzir Eitzim. So it's already included in that piece. One more Rashi, B'Shabbos Teich HaChag V'chula Rishnayim Aser. This was Shabbos, which falls out on Sukkos, which gets you to a total of 12 kohanim. Why? Because you have your standard 9 for the Tamid, plus 2 for the Shtei B'zich Lavoina, which was done on Shabbos morning, and 1 more fellow holding the Tzlech Shel Mayim because of Sukkos. Continues the Gemara, Omar Abba. V'yitema, some say it was Rami Bar Chama, V'yitema, some say it was Rabbi Yehuda. I want to prove something to you. We know that on Sukkos, they did Nisach HaMayim. But when did this happen? In the morning or in the afternoon? Ein menaschen mayim b'chag, el b'tamid shel shachar. It was only done in the morning. Why? What's the right? Take a close look at our Mishnah, and you'll see for yourself. We're looking for a day in the Beis HaMikdash where they needed 12 kohanim for the tamid shel shachar. So what did the Mishnah come up with? This is the last case in the Mishnah. Shabbos shebesoich hachag. Shabbos falls out on Sukkot, so it's your standard 9 kohanim for the Talmud. Add 2 more who attend to the beziche levoinish lechem apanim, and 1 more for the sleiche shel mayim, which was poured on Sukkot. Now, if mayim was also poured during the afternoons of Sukkot with the Talmud sheben harbaim, then you could come up with 12 kohanim even on your typical Sukkot afternoon, a weekday afternoon. Not on Shabbos. Why? You have your standard 9 for the Talmud. You have 2 more for the 2 blocks of wood, which was standard in the afternoon. Every afternoon had 2 kohanim taking care of the 2 gzir eitzim. So you're up to 11. And if there's Nisach HaMayim in the afternoon, that adds another one for 12. So the right from the fact that the Mishnah did not come up with that as your example of 12 kohanim, there was no Nisach HaMayim in the afternoon. Mimai. How do I prove my point? That Nisach HaMayim only takes place in the morning. Midiktani, the Mishnah says, Shabbos Shabbos on Sukkot, we have 12 because we had Echad Tzlech Shel Mayim, because of the Tzlech Shel Mayim brought by the 12th kohen. If you'll tell me that they did Nisach HaMayim in the afternoon as well, we have to go look to Shabbos as an example of a 12 kohanim, a typical weekday. A Sukkot weekday, a Chol Hamoed, would also have the same 12 kohanim. You need 9 kohanim for the Talmud, 2 more for the blocks of wood, and 1 more for the mine. So this proves that Nisach HaMayim only took place in the morning. Amar Rav Ashi, Afanana metanina. I'll bring you a raya as well. It says, so the fellow went up to the Mizbeach to do the Nisach HaMayim. They would instruct him like this: pick up your hands so all can see. Why? Because they would stukim. Again with that stukim. They gave us a hard time. They disagreed. They disputed all the drashas of the Chacham. They followed Torah Shebuksav literally. And they didn't hold of Nisach HaMayim. So what happened? Pam Shapam Achas. So what happened that one time Shapam Echad Nisach al Gabi Raglav. The kohen who was at Stuki poured it, but not in the right place, in the safe on this receptacle. He poured it on his feet. And everybody saw what happened. Urgamu Kol Ames Regain. This was on Sukkot. So everybody immediately pelted him with their esrogim. Shema Mina, this proves our point. How does it prove our point? Let's see Rashi. Off to the left. Come, let's see what you're doing. Let's see how you're pouring into the sefer shel kesef, the silver clear on the mizbeach. Shalom mizbeach shu nokiv kimin chaytim dak, that had a sort of a drain on the bottom, some hole shayan kalech v'yotze bo nisach. The wine, the water would flow right through it. That was called nisach hamayim. Why do you have to show what you're doing? Shebam achas nisach al raglav. It so happens that once the kohen decided to be a smart aleck and he poured on his feet. Instead of pouring into the seifel, v'shafach hamayim al raglav, pour on his feet. Show you stuki ve'einoi moide b'nisach hamayim. And what happened? They all pelted him. They stoned him with their esrogim. So that was the story. And the shaila is lama li lemisni b'esrogim. Why does the Mishnah have to stress? Why do I have to emphasize the fact that they used esrogim? They stoned him. They pelted him. What's the Mishnah for what? There must be a purpose. Im loy bol lamdeinu. Not for the fact that the Mishnah's come to teach us something. Shenisach hamayim einei ela b'shas netilas lulav. That nisach hamayim only takes place in the morning when everybody's still holding their lulav. That's the lesson taught by the Mishnah. So we have a right from here that nisach hamayim was only in the morning. Asks the Ritva, how do you know that's the chiddush of the Mishnah? Maybe the Mishnah is coming to tell us that you may use an esrog for this purpose. It's fruit. It's a chevesh shel mitzvah. How do you know you're allowed to peltate stuki with the esrog on sukkahs? So maybe that's the chiddush of the Mishnah, not to tell us when nisach is done, just to tell us this halacha that you can pelt the stuki with the esrog. Says the Ritva, it's not a chiddush, it's pashut. Everybody knows that you can pelt the stuki with the esrog. He says it's, if anything, it's enhancement on the mitzvah of esrog. You mekal Shem Shemayim by setting things straight and establishing the Messiah. So of course you don't need a Mishnah to tell you that you can take your chevet shel mitzvah esrog and toss it onto the tztuki. That wouldn't be the chiddush on Mishnah. It must be that the chiddush is something else. As we said, that the lesson here is that Nisach took place in the morning, dafka in the morning. There's a similar Chasam Sefer. The Shaila asked him regarding an esrog which was already getting discolored. It was already getting brownish, yellowy due to overhandling. Those days they had maybe just one esrog per community. So due to overhandling, it was starting to look a little bit discolored. And they asked the Chasam Sefer, esrog is meant to be hadar, beautiful. Is this conform? Is this hadar? Said the Chasam Sefer, yes, just the opposite. This is beauty. This is hider mitzvah. It was beautiful to begin with. Then, due to the netilas lulav, it looks the way it looks. That's the result of a mitzvah being done with it. That's hider mitzvah. Just the opposite. Shake it. This is the real hadar. And there's a raya from the Gemara Pesachim. It speaks about the Kohanim on Erev Pesach who would walk through the dam ad arku v'yseim b'dam, knee deep into the dam. They were immersed, literally and figuratively, in the karbanis. Now it was a shvach, the Gemara says. It was a praise to the Bnei Aaron that they were so heavily engaged in the karbanis. So sometimes being dirty is a shvach if it involves a mitzvah. And here as well says the Ritva, it's a shvach. It's not misusing the esrog by using it for this purpose, setting straight the Messiah and Klal Yisrael. Continues the Gemara, Tanya Reb Shimon Chayim. Okay, let's discuss the Shnei Gzira Eitzim, which Rashi alluded to. He says, Menayin l'tomit sheben arbayim sheton Shnei Gzira Eitzim Shnei Kahanim. How do we know this halacha? In the afternoon, they would bring 2 gzirei eitzim carried by 2 kohanim. Shenema, we have a pasuk which is actually speaking about the morning tamid. Va'orchu eitzim. So the complete pasuk reads as follows. If you have it, it's on the side, the Torah Shalom pasuk Aleph. V'nosnu b'nei Aaron HaKohen eish al mitzbeach va'orchu eitzim al eish. And then we have another pasuk which says v'eish al mitzbeach tukad b'lo sichbe ubir aleho HaKohen eitzim b'boker b'boker. Okay, so now we're going to learn both pasukim. Says Shimon Rechai, the first pasuk v'orchu eitzim tells you that the Kehanim should add wood in the afternoon. How do I know? We're speaking about the Tamid Shel Shachar. Imeina in the Tamid Shel Shachar, because if it's not needed for the Shachar Tamid, we have another pasuk for that. D'chsiv ubi'er oleh hakoyin eitzim b'boker b'boker v'orach oleh. So we already have a pasuk. Then in the morning you bring extra wood. Why do we need another pasuk for the same halacha? Tneu inyan the Tamid sheben habayim. This is a formula applied many times in the Gemara. The pasuk is unneeded for one thing, we apply it to elsewhere. And in fact, this is the makar that in the afternoon you add the 2 blocks of wood. No, maybe they're both applying to the morning. Torah is simply telling us, Avid, do it once, Mahadar, and do it again. Bring 2 shipments of wood, once and again. How do you know to apply to the afternoon? Imkain, if that would be the case. Name a kro ubir. Instead of saying v'orchu and then ubir, one pasuk we have v'orchu and then ubir in the next pasuk. The pasuk should simply have said ubir, which is the same lotion. Why switch l'shayna is first ubir and then v'orchu? If it wasn't coming to teach us something else. Says the Gemara, not necessarily. Maybe both psukim are referring to the morning tamid. There's no need to bring eitzim in the afternoon. Why then? So the Torah used 2 different references. We have ubir, we have v'archu. The answer is ikas of rachmana ubir. If only for the word ubir, hava amina chadin. I would say it's only one kohen bringing both gzirei eitzim treiloi, but you don't need 2 kohanim. So of course, it's going to happen in 2 phases. You add once, you add again, but in both cases, only one kohen is needed per delivery. Kamash malon. That's why Torah switches the terminology to avid chad for avid trey to teach us that first one kohen will bring both blocks of wood, ubir, and then we have the word va'archu lashon rabim that the second time around 2 kohanim bring, each one holding a block, but it's both in the morning, not in the afternoon. Imkain, if that was the case, Nemakra ubir ubiru. There would simply switch from lashon yachad lashon rab, using the same term ubir. First ubir lashon yachad, ubiru lashon rab. Inami, alternatively, v'arach v'archu. Go from v'arach, which is lashon yachad, denoting one kohen delivering, v'archu lashon rab, and 2 kohen delivering. My ubir v'archu. Why then does the Torah change on 2 accounts? First from lashon yachad lashon rab, and also the actual term was switched. We have ubir, and have v'archu, different reference, a different word. Shema minokid k'tamrinan. This proves our point that we're discussing 2 different contexts. The Tamid Shel Shachar is ubir, one kohen bringing both blocks, and v'archu is a different experience. Tamid Shel Ben Arbayim, with 2 kohanim are needed, each one holding one of the gzirei. Tana Rav Chia. Now we're going to have a tally in the name of Rav Chia. Payis ba'am yud gimel. Regarding the kohanim involved in the Tamid Shel Shachar, sometimes it's going to be 13 kohanim. As the Mishnah Daf Chav Hey stated as well, we have 13 kohanim involved. Beginning from the Sheichet, the Zorik, the Medashim, Mizbeach HaPlimi, Medashim HaMenorah, and then the 9 kohanim which we referred to in the Mishnah previously. So 9 plus 4 is 13. That was your typical Tamid, 13. But of course, as we just mentioned, your Tamid can range anywhere from 9 to 12, depending on the time of the year. And if we add, right, the Mishnah did not speak about the first 4 kohanim, the Zorik, the Makta Ketorah, the Sheichet, the Zorik, the Meitavasa menorah, the menashna of Mizbech, we left that out. Rashi said we only discussed the kohanim from the time of halachas eivarim onward. So if we add that 4, we're going to end up with a range from anywhere from 13 minimum, right, 9 plus 4, all the way up to 16, right? Because the Mishnah told us that either it could be from 9 to 12 taking care of the Talmud, plus the 4 which we didn't mention. So it takes us from a minimum of 9 plus 4, which is 13, to a maximum of 12 plus 4, which is 16. Sometimes we have 13 kohanim zoich in the payis, but sometimes 14, 15, 16. Says the Gemara Vatanya Yud Zayin. We have a brisa which gives us the number 17. 17 kohanim involved in the Talmud. How do you get to 17? How do you get to the additional kohen? Says the Gemara, that's the kohen who would transport the ivarim from the kevesh to the mizbeach. That brisa is the loy. It's not following Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, who held that there was no such kohen, because he held that the same kohen that brought it to the kevesh would continue out to the mizbeach. So we're not following that shita. Elok Rabbi Yehuda, rather, it's Rabbi Yehuda's shita, who said that there was no pious for the machta. So how did he get to 4, a total of 4 piyases? He held that there was another pious to determine which kohen will bring the eivarim from the kevesh to the mizbeach. So that's kohen number 17. Continues the Mishnah, Ayil Korav B'Achad Asar. Until now we spoke about the Tamid, which was a kevesh, was a sheep, rather small in size. But suppose we bring an ayil as a korban oila, a ram, that's larger in size and requires more kohanim to tend to it. Ayil Korav B'Achad Asar, there were 11 kohanim involved in that. Habasa B'Chamisha, the actual eivarim were transported by 5 kohanim, similar to the kevesh. But when it gets to the other portions, then we need more kohanim than the kevesh, because these things were larger in quantity. Hakrovayim, for instance, the innards of the ayil, this needed 2 kohanim, as opposed to only 1 kohen by the kevesh. Va'asoilis, likewise the flour for the mincha, which was more in quantity. Va'yayin, as well as the wine. These things, each one required b'shnaim, 2 kohanim per item. So we have 5 plus 2, and 2 for a total of 11. Par, an ox, karev esra, a cow would need 24. It was so large in size and required more kohanim. Harosh v'regel. Let's go down the line of all the ivarim. Harosh v'regel, the head and the hind leg, the right hind leg. How many kohanim were needed for this? Harosh be'echad. The head was carried by 1 kohen. V'regel b'shnayim, and 2 kohanim for the regel. What about ha'iketz v'regel, the hind part of the animal and the left foot? As follows: ha'iketz b'shnayim, 2 kohanim carried the oiketz. V'regel b'shnayim, and the foot was carried by 2. Ha'chazav v'agera, the chest area and the neck area. As follows: ha'chazav v'echad, the chest by 1. V'agera b'shloisha, that required 3. Shtei yadayim, both forelegs, b'shnayim, 2 kohanim, 1 per hand. Shtei tfanis, the 2 sides of the carbon, b'shnayim, 2 kohanim, 1 per side. Hakravayim, the innards, which were greater in quantity than even the ayil. And v'asoilis, the soil, which was also greater in quantity, v'ayayin, and the wine, b'shloisha, each thing needed 3 kohanim. So we have 3, and 3, that's 9, plus 15 for the eivarim, for a total of 24. But when does this whole discussion apply? The lotteries and the allotments of the avodas, what does it apply to? B'karbanis sibur, only to public karbanis. Aval b'karban yachid, but if a person brings his own carbon, if a kohen should bring his own carbon, he can bring it on his own. He doesn't have to allow anybody any privileges in his carbon. Likewise, if a Yisrael should offer a carbon, his own personal nedava, he can choose which kohen will take care of his carbon. Concludes the Mishnah, have shaitan v'nituchan shel elu v'elu shavin. When it comes to the hefshet, removing of the skin, v'nituchan, and they're cutting up the karbonis, shel elu v'elu shavin, whether it's a carbon yachad or carbon tzibur, they both have the same halacha, meaning that a zar, even a non-kohen, can engage in these activities. Tana, we learned in the brisa, have shaitan v'nituchan shavin mazar. The carbon yachad and carbon tzibur are equal in this factor that a hefshet nituach can be done by a zar. Amar Chizkiya, how do we know this? Menayin lehefshet v'nituach sheshava b'zar. How do we know that a zar can do the hefshet and nituach of a carbon yachad or carbon tzibur? Shenama v'nostu b'nei Aaron HaKohen Eish l'mizbeach. Pasuk says the kohen will light the mizbeach. Nisinas eish boya kahuna. Yeah, lighting needs kahuna. Hefshet v'netuach, but flaying the animal or dissecting the animal, lo boya kahuna. Kahuna is not required. Even zar can do that. The more will elaborate further as Hashem in the upcoming daf. Okay, time for brief chazara of today's daf. We learned that every morning there were 4 piyases conducted. Rabbi Yehuda tells us the one that was zeicha and tamid shel shachar automatically gets a schus and tamid shel ben arbaim as well, except for Shabbos where there was a new mishmar and a new payas was required for tamid shel ben arbaim. Who brought the Ivarim from the kevesh to the mizbech? According to Tanakama, there was a new payas for that. A new kohen was involved in that. According to Bezer and Yaakov. No, the same kohen who transported to the kevesh would come back and carry on to the mizbeach as well. And we learned that anywhere from 9 to 13 kohanim would be involved in a korban tamid. On your typical tamid shel shachar, it was 9. 5 for the ivarim, 1 for the kravayim, 1 to bring the solas, 1 to bring the chavitin, and 1 to bring the yain. If it was a tamid shel shachar on Sukkot, we had another kohen for the tzleicha shel mayim, for the nisach hamayim. If it was a typical tamid shel ben arbaim, a weekday afternoon tamid, you have 11 kohanim involved, because you had your standard 9 plus 2 kohanim who were bringing the shnei gzirah. If it was a tamid shel shachar on Shabbos, likewise we had the number 11, your standard 9 plus 2 additional kohanim who were taking care of the shnei bezicha levaina shlechem apanim. How do we get to 12? The tamid shel shachar on Shabbos Sukkot. So you have your standard 9 plus 2 kohanim who took care of the shnei bezicha levaina plus a 12th kohen with the tzleicha shel mayim. In the Brisa we added another case. We had 13 kohanim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the 13th kohen was there to be malad ivarim from the kevesh to the mizbech. In the next mission we learned that an ayil required 11 kohanim, 5 for the ivarim, 2 for the kravayim, 2 for the solas, 2 for the yain, and a par 24, 9 for the ivarim, 3 for the kravayim, 3 for the solas, and 3 for the yain. And we learned that hefshet v'netuach, regardless of whether it's a korban yachad or korban tzibur, can be conducted by a zar. Hatzlacha Rabba, all the best to you.